Welcome, everybody, to our first inaugural podcast of Stocked and Delivered.
Stocked and loaded?
Stocked and loaded or stocked and delivered? What do you prefer?
I think it's stocked and delivered, actually. I think you're right.
Stocked and loaded. Stocked and loaded.
Stocked and delivered.
Yes, that is it. Stocked and delivered.
Stocked and delivered. In the background here, we have Max Ferguson. I think we should just keep going with it. It's our first episode. I think mistakes are good for the first episode.
Yes, this is the pilot.
Yeah, stocked and delivered. Welcome, everybody. I'm your host, Mikey Goodman, along with...
Let's
No, it's fun.
Time.
I think this is fun. I think like mistakes are a part of the
All right,
podcast.
go ahead.
And Max is shaking his head. He's our producer, intern in the background. Everybody, for those who don't just joining us, and with Todd London.
Hi.
So today's goal is to do some introductions, talk to you about our intent for the podcast, our plans for the future, and help you get to know Todd and I a little bit better.
Yeah, that's right. And Mikey, I can say that since I've been at Sherwood, this has been something that's been kind of heavy on your mind in terms of wanting to do. I guess just to start us off, do you want to tell us a little bit about why this has been such an important kind of deliverable for you?
Sure. So I think probably for the past 3 years, I've been saying I'm going to start a podcast, or I want Sherwood to have a podcast. Being the host of it is something I didn't really necessarily think about, but here I am. Here we are. I wanted to. I saw an opportunity in our industry. There wasn't many podcasts. There's a couple podcasts now since I had the first idea, and I just know that when we get our personalities out there, people get to know our company a little bit better. They feel more comfortable with us. It's good for the industry to meet more people, and what better way to meet more people than a podcast? So that's one reason. Another reason is there's so much knowledge in our industry, so many people, so many different vendors and customers, competitors, and with so much great information to share. And I wanted a way to be able to interview others, whether it be truckers and their trucking history, whether it be customers and their decision to buy or sell their company, or keep it for their family. Whether it be vendors, lumber mills, or siding manufacturers thinking about growing or changing their products. How do they do that? Why do they do that? There's so many different reasons of people we can interview and learn from. And I just thought it'd be great to get that on a podcast.
And I guess to double down, I think when you really truly put together all the pieces it takes to build a home or a building, I think a lot of people don't realize how much collaboration that really kind of involves, right? From the manufacturer to the distributor to the dealer to the contractor to the trucking company to the homeowner to make this kind of dream come true of theirs. And along the way, all of these different business models have so many unique ways of going to market. And I think a lot of times the misunderstanding is what usually causes the problem. I think our hope here is to bring light to kind of all of the different angles that comes along with this type of industry, whether it be consolidation or whether it be succession or whether it be what makes a truck driver tick or a contractor tick for that matter. And I think our hope is to kind of uncover some of those things and really kind of bring light to making this industry a little bit more transparent.
For sure. I'm just going to echo what you said. Just you didn't mention architects, and there's just so many different pieces to the puzzle of even whether it be a small house or it be a large industrial building. It's so many different pieces and so many places to learn the products, the labor, the work that all goes into it. And I hope that over the years to come, Stocked and Delivered could be a place where we get to learn that information.
I guess, Mikey, there's probably no better place than to start with you. We talked about the multiple different views of this. You joined a family company. I guess just to ask, what got you inspired to join the family business and get involved?
Sure. So, hello everybody. Good to meet everybody. So, Mikey Goodman is my name, and I did join the family business. And before I joined, I went to law school. I got my MBA. So I was doing my own thing for a little bit. I worked at Bank of America, worked at Ernst & Young. In-house counsel and some advisor positions in both of those, and throughout my life, I'd interned at Sherwood Lumber. It's obviously my father is the current CEO. So it's always been around my family, but been around myself, and the time just felt right based on the knowledge I had learned and the opportunities to come join the company. Um, I always felt like in the back of my mind, I would come here. I never set a time and place of how it would happen or when it would happen. It happened, I think, 10 years ago. So that's 2014. I just moved back to New York. I was working in New York, and it just felt like it made sense. It was right after I got married, before I had my kids. So my family life was shaping up, and that all kind of connected and brought me here to begin my journey. And it's been a fun ride for 10 years.
And Mike, you've been here for 10 years now, and you get to sit with the owner's hat on. In your opinion, if there was one part of the business that like brings you the most pleasure to, I guess, romance would be the word I'd use. Like, where does this industry bring you the most kind of happiness?
The most happiness it brings me is going to the trade shows, meeting other people, learning from others, how others run their businesses, the dynamics of other companies, the people in other companies. There's a lot of good trade, and I call it trade shows, more like just gatherings, networking sessions with others, just getting to know the people. And you hear this a lot, that it's a unique industry, it's a very niche industry, and it's a very people-specific industry. And I think that does reign true. The great people and the great other leaders in our industry. And particularly now, it feels like this is a big time in our industry. When I say our industry, like the whole building materials world, where there's a big succession happening, whether it be private equity buying companies or whether it be the next generation taking over. I don't know if it's true or not, but it feels very true that a lot of companies are shifting to that next generation. And I get to be part of that in my family business, and I see a lot of happening other places in our industry as well. Todd, you seeing the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think from your opinion, like from your perspective, it'd be hard to argue that we're not in the 8th or ninth inning of consolidation. That's for certain. And so the industry seems like it's getting smaller, at least from a number of customers or manufacturers standpoint. But that brings about a great deal of change, just in the way that you go to business. I know when Sherwood first got started, the idea was, these small independent lumber yards were really where you cut your teeth. And since then, the industry's changed so dramatically that, while we still service that type of customer, we really have seen a really large gambit of like customer diversity, I guess. In your mind, speaking of change, like what are some of the largest changes that you've seen so far since you've been here?
Well, piggybacking on what I said before, the largest changes in the industry are, I think the largest change in the industry has been the entrance of private equity and into the industry. Lots of big money, and the companies are just getting bigger. The acquisitions are happening at a rapid pace, whether it be on the lumberyard level, whether it be on our competitor level, on our level where we sit in the supply chain. And we'll talk about where we sit in the supply chain shortly to explain who Sherwood Lumber is and what we do. And then also on the vendor side of things. So there's a lot of consolidation, and that's really shaping the industry in a whole new way that was never really felt before. There's always been consolidation, but in the past 10 years, it's really, really sped up. And also the entrance of tech. Tech hasn't quite disrupted anything to a significant way, I think. And maybe, Todd, you have some opinions about that in our industry yet, but I think there's a lot of people working on tech, and I think there's a lot of things that will be coming out, and people are going to try to disrupt our industry in a good way. And I'd like to be part of that. We could talk about it in some future episodes, how we could become part of that in our company. But there are people that are 100% focused on tech in their industry, in their business. And that is a change and going to be a change. But I have some questions for you too, Todd.
Sure,
but before that, just any comments about what's changing in our industry, or particularly in the building material space?
Well, I think you made a couple of points. The question that I always ask is, so we know that consolidation is a theme, and that's probably going to remain thematic for the next 5, maybe 10 years. And the question that you ask based on that really is how do these companies now navigate in this new environment? If you're a contractor and a builder, you may have less selection as to where you go. If you're a manufacturer, you may have less places to sell your products to. And so really, I think trying to figure out how to navigate this marketplace where the competitive forces continue to get stronger in terms of leverage that each of the places in the channel, kind of own, is crucial to figuring out what next steps look like. I know Sherwood, for an example, we've actually looked at some acquisitions over the past couple of years just because of this concept of, you get busy growing or you get busy selling. So it's been encouraging to see Sherwood kind of get on this consolidation bandwagon for a portion of it. I think the lessons that we've learned is that not all acquisitions are created equal, and moreover, when you buy something, you buy its culture and you buy its strategic advantage, and trying to mesh those two things, I think, has probably been one of the biggest challenges that we've seen as an organization, for certain.
I think that's a great episode. I think we should
100%.
One of our future episodes, we'll find someone in the or have someone we were thinking about who's done acquisitions and talk about how it's worked out, how it's failed, and
Or how it succeeded.
how it succeeded. Yeah,
Sure.
what worked out, succeeded. Yeah, hopefully in a good way. So Todd, I'd like to turn the tables on you for a moment.
Sure.
Let's start from the basics. Tell us about yourself, Todd. Who are you?
So I've been with Sherwood now for 7 years. My story, I came from a manufacturer in the building product side, not the lumber industry side, based out of Chicago. And, for me, my journey started with kind of having a strong distaste for what I think is traditionally known as two-step distribution. And I think that distaste was a little myopic in hindsight. I think when you get to see the other side, that obviously makes that forms your opinion a little bit better. But my wife she asked a really great question when we decided to move from Chicago to New York to take this opportunity at Sherwood. She asked, Todd, why are we moving across the country where you have no friends or family for a company that you've never heard of, that runs a business model that you've admittedly not been a huge fan of? And my answer to her at the time, which I thought was a great question, is I do think that there is a better way to run this model. And I think since then, this thing that we've been trying to grow at Sherwood, whether it be in the commodity side and taking the commodity out of the commodity, or even in the specialty side of being something that's more than just logistically excellent, but also a kind of a creator of demand, that's been a really rewarding aspect for me. So, I took the shot at Sherwood. I got to go from being a major character at my last role to kind of an author at Sherwood. And I think that's been a really, really rewarding experience for me. But as a result, it's also, the amount of perspective you can get from having some time spent at the manufacturing role and then being able to see the same set of circumstances from the distribution kind of lens, I think it's been a really, really, eye-opening experience for me.
Yeah, I definitely think you have a unique perspective when it comes to being on the manufacturing side and then joining the wholesale channel, seeing it from different angles. It's really cool. Not everyone sees it that way, and you're able to see it from the other perspective, and it's probably helped you be successful here at Sherwood. Tell me a little more about that move. Coming out to a place you didn't know before, you had no friends.
Yeah.
How it's been 7 years now.
Yeah.
What was it like initially, and how did you get yourself situated?
I know, you've talked about this in the past,
Yeah.
but I can tell you, year one, not very fun. Probably one of the loneliest times I had, in the sense that, when I came over, I think I represented change for change's sake. I think a lot of people are resistant to that at first. So year one, specifically, I think to lumber, but maybe just in building products in general, it felt like our team and even the industry has this kind of prove it to me, right? And so the first year, I felt like I was on trial a little bit, in the sense that I had to prove this thing to this base of employees. And I don't come from lumber, which in Sherwood's a lumber company by nature. In year two, I made a conscious decision from going to trying to prove it to anyone to trying to improve it for everyone. And I think that's when we took a real hard look at kind of like what the culture of Sherwood looked like, how we could kind of make this a better organization for the stakeholders that work for us. I know that me and you both kind of stacked hands on the sense that, our customers are never going to love this company unless our employees do first. And that was the rocket fuel we were looking for. But year one, I think for any new leader, is probably a challenge. 7 years later, something's worked. So it's been a great ride. But I'd be lying if I said I haven't learned a great deal and probably changed a great deal from when I first came over.
Yeah, I agree with you that you probably represent a change, and changing an organization is not easy,
You know,
and people are resistant to change for
yeah,
sure.
and a lot of kudos to the entire executive leadership team if you think about it, because I do think, and I think we've talked about this, the difference between change and progress is progress has a vision, and I think you guys on the team have done a really nice job showing this organization, what we want to become and how we think we're going to get there, and I think that's been probably some of the glue that has held this thing together during times where it's rocky, because those first initial change periods, they're tough.
Yeah, for sure. Now, 7 years in, what do you think is the most misunderstood aspect of the building materials lumber industry, or our where we sit in the whole side of things?
Well, the two lessons I've learned, I would say there's two major things. I think one is it doesn't need to be perfect for it to be wonderful. I think that's something I've really learned over the last 7 years is that you strive to do all these things and stick the landing. And I just think about the last 7 years of how much Sherwood's actually done, and it hasn't come without a ton of scratched knees and a lot of mistakes. But I look at this organization now, and you think about the improvement. It's multiples of 3, 4, 5x. So I think the first thing is that when we first got going, we were almost afraid to just get the game started because we didn't want to make a misstep. And I think some of the things that I've learned is that that's okay, right? I'd rather be wonderful than perfect, and I think Sherwood's really adopted that as kind of a core ethos, and it's been a really nice run. From an industry standpoint, the thing that we talk about a lot is I think that our customers have a really bad stigma. I think too often our customers, the dealers, they get called order takers too often, and I don't think that's right. I think whether it be from a manufacturer perspective or a mill perspective or a contractor perspective, this middle part of the value chain that provides a unique amount of value, whether it be through logistics or credit or brand amplification, I don't think a lot of them are order takers. I think a lot of them are generalists. I think that they want to sell their builders a wide swath of things, and so for them to be effective, they have to know a lot about a little. And one of the things I think Sherwood's done such a great job of is really trying to find niches where they can specialize to bring maximum value to their customer base. And so if I had to say I wanted to demystify something, and I know we'll probably talk more about this in future runs, that's one area where I think it's a really bad label. I think it undermines the overall value of what this customer base does for everybody. And I understand how people got there, but I just don't think it's necessarily true.
Yeah.
How about you?
What's misunderstood?
Mm-hmm.
I think what's most misunderstood about our industry is the volatility and the urgency that everyone is looking for. This is an on-demand industry where people are looking for answers extremely quick, and if you're not in it, you don't realize that how quick people need things, whether it be the price of something or whether it be the actual delivery of something. So we are more in the logistics business than we are. Sometimes I feel this way than we are in a sales business of selling the product. And logistics is not an easy thing. You got ships coming from overseas. You got rail cars coming all over the place from the West Coast and the Southeast, and you got trucks running every which direction every single day. You got mistakes happening on every single one of those that you have to correct. You have warehouses that are storing material incorrectly and correctly, but you have to deal with all these problems, and that takes up almost more of your time than the actual selling of the product that makes you the money. It's funny that's where we are, and but people think of us as the lumber industry. I wanted to actually just stop for a second and talk about to our audience who Sherwood Lumber is and where we sit. So when everyone hears us talking about what me and you do, where does Sherwood Lumber sit in the supply chain, so everyone can understand for today and for the future. So we're a wholesaler, and we're a distributor, and we're a middleman, and we're a broker, We sit in between the manufacturers who make lumber, who make plywood, who make building products, whether it be siding or decking or roofing or railing, trim, any of those products. The manufacturers that make it, they sell it to us, and then we sell to the dealers, the lumber yards, the one steppers, the places that then take those products and sell it to contractors. So we're a middleman. So we see both the customer problems and successes, the vendor problems and successes. We have a unique perspective of the industry in general, of the product, moving the product in general. And we're tasked with getting that product moved from all over the country and moving it all over the country. Todd, anything to add on that? Where we sit and how it impacts everyone else?
I think for those that are listening that maybe aren't familiar with the industry, you just realize that you deal with big, heavy products that are hard to move around, that are high in SKU complexity. If you're a dealer, you might not be able to carry everything or enough as you may want to service this customer base. And Sherwood is that bridge between the manufacturer and the end user to help product either logistically go from A to B, or to be a credit facility, or to be a sales arm, just to help bring new products to light and bring existing products to allow for market enablement.
That's good. Let's see.
So Mikey, I guess I'll ask you this question. We talked a lot about Sherwood, and we talked a little bit about our philosophy and our view. If you could tell anyone listening, like just for this podcast in general, what's something that you're looking forward to achieving in doing this? So we know why. Tell me what your hope is for the listeners.
My hope is that listeners walk away with more knowledge. My listeners walk away with getting to know Todd and myself a little bit better. My listeners walk away with getting to know our guests a little bit better and getting to know the industry a bit more. I just don't think there's a lot of podcasts out there, a lot of wonderful podcasts out there, but there's not many podcasts or any podcasts that are really touching the subject in our area of getting to learn this part of the business. This is one of those businesses where when I meet a new friend or meet somebody and I tell them I'm in the lumber business, they're like, "No way, I didn't even know that existed. What does that even mean? What do you do?" And they learn about it, and it's just one of those businesses where it's not common. People I meet are, they work in New York City in some sort of finance position, or they're in real estate, or they're in retail. All these things that we all kind of know and see on TV every single day. Lumber is definitely one you do not. During COVID, that was a different story. It happened to be in the news. But this is one of those things that people do not see. My hope is that we get to expose it a little bit better. Building materials, siding, decking, roofing, railing, all the products that go into the exterior house. Like, these are things that we aren't really talked about on a regular basis. And I really hope that we could provide more insight, more knowledge, more information for people out there. And at the same time, just deliver it in a fun way. Todd, I'll throw the question back at you. Doing this podcast together, thinking about the future, what are you hoping to accomplish?
Yeah, I definitely believe that a lot of times people don't want to disagree. They simply can't relate. I do think that's probably universally true. I know, having spent my time on the manufacturing side, I can't remember how many times I must have said, these distributors, they just don't get it. But I think that rings true for all of the value chain. My hope is to bring transparency as to what makes a contractor choose a product, or what makes an architect spec a product, or what makes a manufacturer want to innovate, and really just dig deep in all of these topics that allow for the listeners to really understand kind of how they can get through to all of these core functions that go into building a house that seem kind of murky or complex, and really kind of simplify it or demystify it, and really make our audience kind of understand, what are some of the key drivers that really make this thing work. I think that there are so many examples in our industry in terms of case study of things that have just worked exceptionally well that no one can understand, or that failed terribly that nobody understands. And I hope through the guests that we have and through the interviews that we conduct, that we can kind of make all this seem a little bit more real and a little bit more tangible, and maybe help our listeners kind of understand how they can grow their businesses, whether they be anything from homeowner to contractor to architect to builder to contractor to dealer to manufacturer and anywhere in the like to trucker. And so, I think for me, if a year from now we've successfully accomplished that, I think we probably have something special here for a lot of people to come in and really enjoy on a daily or weekly basis.
Yeah. So I will say, if you fall into those categories of people, whether you're in logistics, you sell the product, you own the product, you use the product, you're someone we want to join our podcast. Let us know. Follow up with us. I think we have plenty in that we want to bring on, but there's probably people out there who are going to listen to this who may be perfect for this as well. We're gonna move over to a little more fun here, a little light stuff here.
Oh, great.
Yeah, let's have a little fun. And we're going to learn to have fun because for those listening, this is my first podcast I've hosted myself, so kind of getting used to it, figuring out how to speak. But let's get into sports.
Okay,
right? I think let's make this more lighthearted. So, Todd, you're from Chicago.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Who are your teams? What sports do you watch the most?
Well, I definitely watch football the most. There's just no debate about that. I wish I could say I was a Bears fan, but I stopped caring about the Bears when Jay Cutler stopped caring about the Bears. And now I think I gamble too much on sports to necessarily have a team, but love football. Big fan of baseball, but to be quite frank with you, I actually think I like watching my son play baseball more than I do the professionals. Big baseball fan as well. How about you, Mikey?
Football would rank. Actually, I'm going to take that back. Basketball. I'm a big New York Knicks fan. I don't know why I had to think twice about that. Maybe because the Knicks are finally back, and it hasn't been top of mind. But now the Knicks are back, and I'm ready. I got my tickets already lined up for the upcoming season. I'll be at plenty of games. The Knicks are back.
So, Mikey, if Sherwood was a sports team, who would you most liken it to?
If Sherwood was a sports team, who would most liken it to? I'm gonna go with, this has popped in my mind. This is gonna be a funny one. The Dream Team, the 1994 NBA Dream Team, and the reason is,
okay.
Well, the Olympics just passed.
Yeah.
So the Olympics are on my mind, and the Dream Team had so many great talent, and they had to come together to figure out how to play together. So in the Sherwood company, there's just, the talent it goes on and on. People from sales to logistics, admin, finance. We do have a dream team, and it's not always easy to get high achievers working together. So I'd like into that. Todd, what do you think?
Oh, geez. I guess if I had to liken it to a team, I'm going to go Houston Texans.
I like that. All right.
And look, a couple good trades. Okay. You prospects for the team super high this year. You got a lot of young talent that's recently come on, and you have a lot of excitement around. I think there's a fan base that's starting to root for them. So I think a little new to the scene in terms of being overall known. Not necessarily new to the overall scene in general, but I think in terms of like a momentum build, if I had to compare, give me Houston Texans.
I like that.
Chime in from the man behind the curtain here. What is your, you mentioned the dream team, Mikey. What is your all Sherwood starting five?
Oh, boy.
The question was, I'm not sure if you can hear or not, all five, all-time Sherwood starting five. This is a tough one.
This is a basketball reference we're giving?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
I think you do football.
No, it's fine.
But you got to pick five Sherwood people for it.
Yeah,
If
what's
this
your
is
Sherwood starting five?
all-time Sherwood. So we're picking people who may not work here either.
Okay.
That's hard.
Or current roster.
All right, so you got your center. You're gonna go with Bernard Goodman.
Ooh.
Okay, you're gonna put him there. You're gonna have your shooting guard be Josh Goodman.
There's a name. So behind you is a retired jersey. His name is Victor Gregorio.
Yeah.
He was a CFO of Sherwood years ago, and he tragically passed away.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why we have this memory here in our office.
I didn't know that.
I think he would. Yeah, I think he'd be on the starting five as well.
Okay.
He'd probably be a small forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are you putting your Steve Loebner? I think he makes the team.
Steve Loebner is probably going to be passing the ball a lot.
Yeah.
He's a big on assists.
Yeah.
He scoop a loop and then behind the back catches Bernard in the key 3-pointer. Boom.
And I got to be honest with you, that's the first time I've ever heard scoop a loop used in an actual sentence.
I believe Walt Frazier coined that term.
Is that right?
the Clyde the glide.
Okay, got it. Is that 5 or is that 4?
Frazier, Goodman, Gregorio. Who else did we have?
Bernard.
Yeah, yeah.
Loebner. Do we put a Josh Goodman in there?
Oh, Josh Goodman's in there.
Yeah.
Where is Josh Goodman sitting?
Well, I think you got to put Josh as the point guard.
All right.
Yeah. So who are we missing? We need someone on defense.
Ooh. I'm going to go with someone who's worked here in our company for like 35 years.
Yeah.
Robin Schulman.
Okay, love that.
Robin Schulman, great defender.
Yeah.
She defends all those rail cars coming in every single day to make sure they give us exactly what we ordered. So she sits on the defense. She'd be power forward.
As a sixth man, the crowd. I'm just going to go Chris Pelico, just because you got a cheerleader in the background, kind of roaring on the team.
He is a fan favorite.
Yeah. What do you think, Max? How would you answer the question?
That's a good answer. I was thinking more based on like if you had to send a team to go play like a regulation basketball game.
Oh, an actual basketball game.
Yeah, but I have no idea who's good or bad at basketball here.
Well, okay. So let's start with height.
I was gonna go based off height. Like I was gonna put you in, Todd. Like you're a pretty tall guy. I'd put you in like shooting guard or something.
I gotta be honest with you. As athletic as I look, you would be disappointed if I was on the starting 5. I think. Yeah.
Right.
I think it was a good way of answering the question.
Yeah, I think that was great. Yeah, for those who don't know anything about our company who are listening to us, this probably went over your heads, but hopefully,
not probably. Yeah.
Hopefully, get to meet some people in our company over time. I think we're going to close it out soon. It's our first podcast. I hope it went well. Definitely encourage anyone who's listening to send us some feedback, comments, things you want to hear about, people you want to hear from. But I'm going to close it out with a question. I'm sorry, I had the question right here. What excites you the most about the future of this industry, Todd?
Of the industry?
The industry.
Yeah, so, look, I guess there's a couple of things. Number one, I think that this industry is ripe for disruption, as you originally spoken about. I think that over the next decade, you're going to see a couple of things happen. I think you're going to see a couple of people who have been in this industry for a really long time as a vast group begin to retire. And I think you're going to see a new age of this industry. And I think with that is going to come a lot of changing in buying habits, whether it be through e-commerce or how the value chain goes to market. But I think more than anything, I think that, with some of this money that's coming in, you're going to see a lot of predictive analysis. And I think you're going to see a lot of AI start to really help this industry flourish. And if I had to be hopeful about anything, I think for me, thinking about what this industry looked like 7 years ago when I came into Sherwood to where I think it will be 7 years from now, the change is going to be, I think the industry is just ripe for that change. I think no different than what you would have seen in technology in the early 2000s. We're probably going to see in the building products in the late or the early 2030s. And, for me to be around for probably another 20, maybe 30 years in this industry, I think that's a really exciting kind of place to be. How about you?
Yeah, I'm with you. Technology, it's particular AI. I'm bullish on AI on all fronts. There's so much change happening at such a fast pace, and we're going to see it everywhere in our lives, and it will find its way to our industry as well. Whether it just be our everyday use of things that we use every single day, email and Excel, those basic things. AI is taking over everything, and I can see AI taking over how we buy, how we sell, how we communicate with each other about anything in our industry, and then the products themselves. Just learning more about how to have better and more efficient products that the manufacturers are going to make that are going to help all of us. So I'm excited for the future, and I hope I'm being in Sherwood Lumber. I hope that we take full advantage of AI and figure out how to be part of the revolution. And I think we will. So let's close out the first podcast. Thanks for joining us today. We look forward to many future editions of Stocked and Delivered.